Hey everybody, welcome to the Wealth Advisory's Top 10. We're already on to September 2022, as you can see from the screen behind me. August kind of flew by, and wow, what a great month for us as far as the top 10 goes. I don't have the official numbers in front of me right now, like I usually do, but markets were down between 2.5% and 3.5% this morning when I was checking the numbers, and our average gain was 6.52%. So we just destroyed the markets. The markets didn't even have a chance. I'm really proud of it. Honestly, I'm really impressed with it. But as I always say, I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week. And we definitely got kind of lucky last month. We had Centrus Energy in there. It ran up almost a full 50% over the course of the month. We had Albemarle in there, and Congress passed, the Inflation Reduction Act. We can talk about that later. But anyway, in the Inflation Reduction Act, they had like billions of dollars for green funding, and well, Albemarle did really well because of that. So we had some really great things line up during a really rough month for the market, and we came out really far on top. So there's a lot of reallys in there because I'm really excited about how well we performed, and I'm really hoping that we can match that performance this month. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Before I really get into it, though, I just want to remind everybody that's watching on YouTube, I'm going to go through our first five, numbers 10 through 6, and then I've got to cut you off because I do charge people for access to these lists and to these recommendations, and it just wouldn't be fair if I was giving them away for free. So if you do want to get the top 5, no problem. There's a really great deal for you in the comments or in the description below the video. Go ahead, click that, sign up, become a member of the Wealth Advisory, and you'll get the whole top 10 emailed to you way before it'll ever go up on YouTube. So anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, let's get started and get into our first stock for September 2022. Number 10, we're going with Freeport-McMoRan. It might surprise a few of you, mainly because, a recession is either already here or it's just around the corner, depending on who you ask. And a lot of people are just sort of betting that demand is going to, for basically everything, is going to fall off a cliff. Copper happens to be listed among everything, but recession or not, the world's adding tons of new sources of energy to the grid, and they all entirely depend on copper to work. Sellers have taken prices down really, really low over the past couple of months, and I think they're too low. That's why Freeport's making a comeback as our number 10 pick this month, and that's why I think it could pop in September. So for our first pick, we've got Freeport-McMoRan, ticker symbol FCX. All right. Moving on to our next pick. Let me go ahead and clear that. All right. And we're going to move on to our next pick, which is the Guggenheim Strategic Opportunities Fund. I love this fund. You guys know I love this fund. It's all about generating income, steady income, strong income, growing income, and we've generated a lot of income with it so far, and we're going to generate a lot more. Its ticker symbol is GOF. Like I said, it's all about generating income, and that's why it's getting a spot in the top 10 this month. Markets are on thin ice. A bigger drop is definitely coming. We've seen the start of it, but we haven't seen the end of it. This month could be it. September is a traditionally bad month for stocks. But after that drop, you're going to have a lot of discount shopping to do. It's like the markets are having a Labor Day sale. And that Labor Day sale is going to extend potentially all through the month of September. So the income that we're getting from GOF should help buy us some really nice stocks after the crash comes and we put in a real bottom. So number 9 this month, is the Guggenheim Strategic Opportunities Fund, ticker symbol GOF. Next up is another one that might surprise you. It just hit a new all-time high, and it pulled back pretty hard last week. Insiders are taking profits off the top, and investors got a little bit scared. But I really think this stock has a lot more to run, and it's CF Industries Holdings, as you can see. Ticker symbol is C. Sorry, let me clear that, because that looks more like a G than a C. CF, or CF. Anyway, CF is a fertilizer maker. It's got great margins, it's got low costs, and it's got a really good management team. It's been outperforming pretty much all of the other fertilizer makers, US-based and international. And it's going to pick up a lot of business because a lot of its European rivals are sort of shutting down their operations, or at least cutting back their operations, because nitrogen fixation, which is how you make nitrogen-based fertilizer, relies in most cases on burning natural gas. It's a process called the Haber-Bosch process. I won't get into the details of it, but basically you have to burn natural gas to make most kinds of nitrogen-based fertilizers. Natural gas is super duper crazy expensive in Europe right now. You guys all know the reasons for that. And so a lot of European manufacturers are shutting down. They're just not making the fertilizer anymore. CF happens to operate here in the US, where natural gas is more expensive than it's pretty much ever been, but is still really cheap compared to Europe. So I think they're going to pick up a whole lot of business from the European rivals cutting back operations, and we're giving it our number 8 spot for September's list because of that. So number 8, CF Industries. Ticker symbol, very obviously, CF. Moving on, all right, we've got a couple more here for the YouTube crowd before we get into the top 10, and this one honestly might surprise you too. I'm throwing out a lot of surprises this month, or maybe I'm not throwing out a lot of surprises. Maybe you already know me that well that you knew that I was going to say that our number 7 stock is Bunge Enterprise, or Bunge Limited. I'm going to say Enterprises. I've often called this one Bung because I think that sounds funnier than Bunge, but I'm pretty sure that it's pronounced Bunge. Anyway, it's kind of linked to CF. In that it's one of the world's largest grain traders. Its ticker symbol is BG, right? The reason we're going with Bunge this month is because there's currently a global food crisis unfolding. Russia and Ukraine are the number 1 and number 2 grain producers in the entire world. And right now, even if they're producing grain, they're not really getting a lot of it out onto the market. Right? And basically the entire world relies on that grain. I mean, we eat grain, we eat bread, we need grain. And grain, we're talking about wheat, we're talking about corn, we're talking about all of this different, basically anything that is like the seed of a plant that gets ground up and turned into food for us. And Russia and Ukraine are the 2 biggest exporters in the entire world. The US, Canada, and parts of Europe sort of like fill in the rest of that. But Russia and Ukraine account for the bulk of the grain exports in the world. And, their little tiff with each other, whatever you want to call it, their war that's going on right now, it opens the door for other countries to step in and fill some of the void. And I think Bunge is likely to see increased revenues thanks to that tighter market. So that's why we're making it the number 7 company this month. Again, Bunge Limited, ticker symbol BG. And that brings us to our number 6 stock, which is going to be the last one for the YouTube viewers, but it's also a really good one. And it's our lithium producer and one of the biggest lithium producers in the world. It trades the number 1 and number 2 spot with SQM is Albemarle. Its ticker symbol is ALB. All right? And Albemarle did really well last month, and I think Albemarle is going to continue to do really well this month because green funding is literally pouring out of DC. And we're going to make sure that we get some of the profits that green funding creates. So Albemarle, being an American company that produces lithium, I mean, that makes it, that makes it an oddity. There aren't that many American companies that produce lithium. Most of them are Chinese companies. Some of them are South American companies. But really, China pretty much owns the lithium market, and Albemarle is sort of America's, shining star there. The government does not want us relying on Chinese batteries. You can see that because all of the EV credits that they're offering in these new bills that are coming out, you can only get them if the majority of the car is not made in China, which is going to be a problem for a lot of EV companies because most of these parts and most of these batteries are made in China. Anyway, our government doesn't want us relying on Chinese lithium. It doesn't want us relying on Chinese batteries. That's good for Albemarle, and I think that's going to be good for us too. So that's going to be our number 6 stock this month. So now we're done with the first 5. Let's do a quick recap here of numbers 10 through 6 before we let the YouTube folks go. Oh, and I got to clear my screen here. There we go. Don't want that Albemarle up there cluttering things up. So anyway, now that we're on to number 6 and I have a blank slate to start from, Let's go ahead and do our recap. At number 10, we've got Freeport-McMoRan, our favorite copper company. Copper's going to be big in the future. Investing in copper companies now is going to set you up for big gains later. Next up, we've got the Guggenheim Strategic Opportunities Fund, ticker symbol GOF. Again, this one's all about steady income. It pays us every single month. It pays us well every single month. And we're going to use that cash to buy more companies after the crash really comes. Next up at number 8, we've got our fertilizer company. Maybe the best fertilizer company in the world, definitely the best performer so far this year, CF Industries Holdings. Coming in at number 7, a related company, a grain trader and dealer and importer and exporter, Bunge Limited. We really like them because we think that they can see some increased profits as the grain markets tighten up because of the war in Ukraine. And finally, rounding off our first 5, coming in at number 6 is Albemarle Corporation, the world's biggest lithium producer and also America's shining star to maintain lithium independence from China. So there's our first 5. I really hope you guys enjoyed the program. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, we're going to leave you here. But like I said, if you want to get the next 5, the top 5, numbers 1 through 5, there's a link in the description below. Just go ahead, click that, sign up, join us as a member of the Wealth Advisory. I promise it'll be worth your while. I mean, you look at how we performed last month, you could have paid for an entire year's subscription just with last month's gains. So, you know, it's a pretty good decision. I hope you make it. I hope I see your name on my list the next time I send this out. But if I don't, that's fine. I'll continue to put the first 5 on YouTube for you for as long as you want to see them. So anyway, thanks again for joining us, and check back in next month to see how we did.